Welcome to Sense and Sustainability, your podcast channel for sustainable procurement. We hope you like what you hear. Please go to www.iso2400.org for more information and free resources such as articles, case studies, videos, a self-assessment against the standard, and much, much more.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sean McCarthy, Director of Action Sustainability Community Interest Company. This is our podcast where we talk about all things related to sustainable procurement. We like to bring inspirational stories from the supply chain so buyers in the audience can actually understand the sort of products and services that might be available to you if you look for them. So I'm delighted to introduce today Joe and Levi from Green Door to talk a little bit about their business and their vision for their future business. So, Joe and Levi, would you like to just introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about your background, where you come from, and how you came to form this business?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name's Joseph, and I'm the founder of Green Doors.
And my name's Levi, and I'm a co-director, Green Doors.
A little bit about me and my background. I've had a strong love for entrepreneurship since the age of 12. I was the person selling sweets in school. And it all kind of really started when one day I was out with my family in a toy shop and I came across a magnetic sticks and ball game that you put together and you make sculptures. And I'm dyslexic, so my mind came into play and I thought I want to build the biggest sculpture I can possibly build. But however, it's one of those little starter packs that cost £30 and you only get a few pieces with it. So I decided to go home and look at my dad's eBay account and I came across a seller selling 500 of these items for a fraction of the price, but they wanted them gone in bulk. So my idea was to buy the lot of them. I had around about £1,000 from birthday money that I'd saved up over the years. I wanted to buy all of them, but my parents wouldn't let me. So I ended up buying about half of them. It was around 200, 250 of these items. They were delivered on a pallet to my house, and I started selling them on eBay. I started selling them for about £10-12 a pack. On the run up to Christmas, I was selling them for £18. So I was making about £12 to £15 profit per item. I quickly sold out and I went back to buy the rest of them. And unfortunately, they had all sold. So I never forgave my parents for that. But from this, I was just hooked on, dealing with customers, customer service. I really, really enjoyed the whole interaction that, building up a little business like that. So then with the profit that I made, I started importing things over from China. But I quickly found out that you had to kind of buy things in a large quantity. So, if I bought in a small quantity, everyone that had bigger quantities would obviously, outweigh what I could sell them for. So that didn't work. So I just decided to stick to buying and selling random things on eBay that I found. I would basically buy anything that I can get my hands on, really. Anything that was in the post. So it'd be PlayStation parts, modifications, chips, maybe small car parts like car keys. I would buy for one price, resell for a higher price. And I realized if I held on to something for a matter of weeks or months, and I was kind of one of the only persons selling that product, I would be able to sell it for a much higher price than what I purchased it for. So as I grew up, I got to about 17 and I obviously took my driving test and had a car. I was able to take much bigger risks. So I was actually going around to all the large companies and buying all their mobile phones. So I would buy hundreds of Blackberries in one go. I would buy all the cases, refurbish them, sell them on for more money. I was buying car parts, festival tickets, anything that I thought I could resell on and make money from. And I realized the amount of waste that was, people were chucking away in the area. So if I saw anything next to a skip, I would take it back, refurbish it, sell it on eBay as well. I really, really enjoyed doing this. I didn't really see it as a job. I just saw it as a hobby, really. I wasn't really interested in how much money I was making from it. I just enjoyed the whole interaction that I was getting from customers. And I actually became kind of an expert in so many different fields from this. So, I knew about how to sell products. I knew what prices to buy them for. I knew about mobiles, cars, white goods, washing machine, everything that I sold. And now I actually wanted to do this as a career, but my parents didn't really think it was a good move. So I actually went to be a plumber. And I noticed, obviously, when I got a plumber, I had a van. And as I was higher up, I realized how much stuff was just destined to landfill. It was ridiculous. So I used to pick it up, anything that I saw, pick it up again like I did, brought it back home, and would resell it on. Actually, when I was in the plumbing industry, with the amount of boilers that we were taking out, I was taking about 5 to 10 boilers home a week, stripping them down for parts and putting the parts on eBay. So I had a little parts shop on there. I was making £700 apprenticeship wage and £3,000 to £4,000 a month just from selling the parts. So yeah, obviously much better business there. And then one day, when I was at a plumbing job, I noticed that there was a set of French doors on top of a skip. So I didn't really think anything of it. I put them in the back of the van. The customer was just having an extension at the time. I took them back to my house, cleaned them up, advertised them on eBay, and they sold the next day for nearly £600. So they were really good condition. They were only in for a couple of months. So I actually delivered them to the customer as well because he was locally. And from there, I started contacting all the builders, all the local fitters in the area to see if they were taking out these items that, I would actually come and collect them and buy them off them. And one day a couple of months later, I went past a window and door company. So I decided to look around the back of their shop. And I had that eureka moment where I just saw a massive pile of doors and windows. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this must be happening up and down the country. These items are actually going to landfill every single day. I spoke to the owner at the shop and he said, I'm actually having my showroom refurbished next week. All the doors and all the windows are coming out of here. He goes, make me an offer, you can have them. He goes, I've also got 2 double garages out the back filled with mismeasured stock. And I was like, wow, this is what I need to do. It was actually good timing because I was at the end of my plumbing course. I was just qualified a few weeks previously. So I packed in the plumbing job and I decided to found the company Green Doors. It was actually used UPVC at the time, but we've just rebranded to Green Doors. We found it was a better suited name. At the start, I was mainly focused on UPVC products, but now it kind of undersold our items. People were coming to our website and they were, leaving the website because they only thought that we had UPVC items on there. So we've recently rebranded to Green Doors. As I first started the company, no one actually believed in what I was doing. Everyone just thought I was absolutely delusional. I wanted to take on an industry that was known for waste anyway. And I said, I wanted to create the biggest window and door company by recycling and repurposing all the ex-showroom mismeasured windows and doors. And everyone just thought I just lost it, completely lost it. So with people not believing in the vision, I think looking back now, that actually helped me. That really, really, made me frustrated. And I wanted to make this, the business I could so easily see it was. So I started, buying all these doors and windows. I actually set up in my family's back garden, and then I decided to move to a single garage down the road. But after a matter of weeks, I quickly outgrew that, and then I moved over to a warehouse over in Luton. It's about 2,500 square foot warehouse. After 6 months to a year, I kind of outgrew that. And I rented the next one next door as well, and one on the road. So we had about 7,500 square foot. And from there, I set up the business. And then at the beginning, I was doing everything myself. I was doing the collections, the deliveries, the advertising, the cleaning of the products, the sales. The first year was extremely difficult. I noticed that the collections and deliveries were wasting a lot of my time. I couldn't drive, answering phone calls and text messages. It was just ridiculous. So I decided to hire a driver full time. It was someone that I worked with locally when I was really young in a supermarket. So he actually came on board and was my full time driver. And my mum, who didn't believe in the business at the time, but she saw how stressed out I was, she actually came on board. And she was a bit hesitant at the start. She was like, are you going to have enough work for me? And she ended up doing about 15, 16 hours a day for the previous year. And then another year on from that, about 2 years on from when I set up the business, my sister's boyfriend, I was obviously already knew him, but we were talking drunk at a wedding, and he decided that he wanted to have a bit of a career change. So here's Levi.
Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah, Levi, do pick up the story and tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so going back to where I sort of came up just before all that, I actually used to be quite sporty. So I used to be in sort of a sporty sort of background in my sort of bringing up. So I used to be a swimmer. So I swam for 14 years. I turned semi-pro. So I did, the Olympics trials, Commonwealth trials. I was also ranked number 2 for the 50-meter freestyle. So I was very, very, very sporty. I had no kind of, ambitions to, start a business or just anything in that sense. My headset was more, how hard can I work to get the goals that I want in my swimming career? Based on that, I, decided I went to university. So I was quite passionate in tech just before this. So I had a weird combination in terms of, a sporty background and someone who's sitting at a desk coding. So they're very, very kind of different scenarios. A lot of people sort of said to me when I was sort of, growing up and saying, look, I don't think you'll be the right person to do that sort of tech side kind of thing. Building websites is, it's not hands-on, because obviously being very sporty as I was, they always thought I'd be, a mechanic or something like that, something with, really, really practical. So I think that kind of pushed me to where I am now, really, where I saw that as a kind of positive in that way, where I would just go out and thought, okay, like, let's prove everyone wrong. I built quite a lot of, websites for a lot of companies. I finally got my degree as a web application developer, joined a couple of tech companies. And, from the get-go, I've always been very passionate building these sites. It got to a certain point where I was thinking, I was, in development, there's kind of 2 different stories with it. You're either a front end guy who does all the pretty side for the customer to see, or you've got the back end side who does, all the things that you don't see, but you want it to achieve, but you don't know how long it's going to kind of take. So I moved in and merged them both together, and I'm sort of like a full end developer. So I decided to go kind of like self-employed. So I was kind of like working with a lot of clients, different ones. I think it sort of took to me to think, I could kind of change the way I'm kind of doing things like this. Instead of doing what the clients kind of wanted, I wanted to sort of have my own sort of little effect in there. So I was eventually going to, do my own sort of, tech company and stuff like that. But I got into a certain point where I think it was kind of fate, to be honest. Obviously, my fiance, Joe's sister, basically I was around his house one day and, I could kind of see him. He's always working. He's got his little office at the family house. He was always buying and selling. I remember one day he kind of approached me and sort of said, look, I need, a small little task just to help the business grow just that little bit. It was only like a small little template thing. So I did it in my spare time. And from there, I kind of found out that, Joe needed more than just a template. It was more sort of like a process. And obviously all my experience I've sort of gathered from, my degree and, working with these clients. I thought, I think I could probably put in quite a lot of processes in place just to boost the company. So, back then it was kind of very sort of, hard coded, sort of like, if you want a job sheet, you write it on a piece of paper and give it to someone. Whereas, my kind of sense was, okay, I'm from a tech guy industry, let's make this all digital. And from there, we've kind of grown from that. And I think, it's definitely been kind of like a fate thing, me and Joe kind of meeting. And so I kind of joined the company and I basically treated it like it was my own, because that was the kind of thing I wanted to be and do something on my own. But I think me and Joe working together on this was the way to go about it. And it was a really, really great experience to go through.
What an amazing story. And I think it's hilarious. Like, are you still employing your mother?
Yeah, she's just part-time now. So 3 days a week. Yeah.
Good. Absolutely. Okay, so you've talked about the sort of history and the origins of the business and your 2 backgrounds. Obviously, you've got some fantastic complementary skills. Where is the business now in terms of size? Who are your customers? And where do you see it going in the future?
Well, between 2014 and 2019, it was just kind of me, we had one driver. My mum was there, Levi, and maybe one other person. So it's still a very small company. I did try and approach one of Lord Sugar's advisors, but he said he didn't know how he could add any value to this after I sent him the business plan. Obviously, people still didn't couldn't really see the vision that I wanted to get to. But in 2020, I actually approached Stephen Smith from Pound. He's the founder of Poundland. I approached him, and he saw, exactly what how far I wanted to take this company, and that was all I needed really. I just needed one person to see exactly how far this could go, and he said it would, this could be really, really, a big business. And then from there, the company has grown massively. We went from 5 members of staff to 25 members of staff now. We ended up moving premises. We still got the premises over in Luton, the barn units where we started. We moved over to the centre of Luton as well. So we've now got 22,500 square foot. Stephen asked what operating systems we had, and back in 2019, we had a website, we had a template for people to put stuff on, which was good. But we had no internal structures in the business at all. We really, really focused on that, and we didn't realize how much it would improve the company. Back then, we had 3 people in, and it used to take them all day to do 10 sales. And now with this internal system that we've got, one of the sales team managed to put on 28 sales in a day just because of our system. So, we've come a long, long way since the last 3.5 years now. But yeah, we're still looking to expand the company a lot more. We're still, the awareness of the business is very low. So we think less than 0.5% of people have even heard about us. So that's one of the things that we're really trying to focus on now, the marketing side of things.
Yeah, hopefully we can help you with that to an extent by recording, making people aware. So who are your customers? Who do you sell this stuff to? Is it a business to consumer product, or is it business to business? Are you selling to house builders, to contractors, or is it to individuals who want to spend a bit less on their doors and windows?
Yeah, it's B2C. Most of it's just general members of the public who buy these items, but obviously then their builders will purchase them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, fitters, builders, anyone that wants to save money on having to buy bespoke.
Would you see yourself scaling up to bigger building companies or larger contractors? Is this a product that would be of interest to them?
Yeah, we do work with a lot of large window companies out there at the moment, and we buy all their mist measures, all their ex-showroom stuff. Just last week we had 140 composite doors from one company come in. We are with quite a few of these larger companies, but there's just the amount of. It's difficult to know where to focus on because we've got a lot of fabricators locally that are taking stuff out that we have to go and pick up on a daily basis. We've got the other companies contacting us as well. So some of the stuff we just haven't got the room for, which is really annoying.
It also goes down to the sort of awareness with that as well. What we kind of find is there's a lot of window and door companies out there, but they're not aware of us and what we kind of do. So when they do find out that, you take all the stock which is not needed anymore, they're very much like, this is brilliant. This is going to help us because it's going to store up loads of space in their warehouse. And an opportunity. It's just crazy that a lot of people have never heard of us before, but they are now starting to sort of gather that we are a kind of business here, and they can kind of support with us as well.
Well, I must admit, I'd never heard of you before until I met you at Construction Week recently, and I'm supposed to be an expert. So, clearly, you need to get the word out there. So, you're not a startup. You're quite a mature business in terms of the amount of time that you've been operating, and it's interesting to hear about the advice you got from Stephen about making your whole operation much slicker. So, to move the business on to the next level, what do you need to do, and what resources do you need to achieve that?
We've actually just been accepted into the Virgin Startup Collective Impact Scheme. We're halfway through that at the moment, and we are going to be pitching this to investors on the 5th of July. So we got that. Hopefully, that's going to build even more traction and maybe hopefully an investment. And we are looking to raise £1 million so we can expand our Luton warehouse. The depot next door has come up for rent. So it's really, really easy for us just to expand through that as well. We'll get some new vans, we'll get some more staff, we'll put a bit more money in the operating system that's nearly finished, and that would massively help scale up our business from there. We would then look into have another round of funding and open up another depot, potentially in Reading sort of area. We would then look at opening another depot in Birmingham and one in Leeds as well. So we'd have 3 main hubs. We would get rid of the Luton branch because it's not exactly central. We'd have 3 main hubs where we, refurbish these products, advertise them, and then resell them out to customers. And we'll be looking to have little smaller depots around the country where installers can actually drop off their products. Very much like We Buy Any Car, you see their little shops all over the place, a bit like that.
So would you see yourselves, I mean, it's interesting, you seem to be attracting the attention of the investment community, which I'm not surprised about, because the investment community is interested in anything green at the moment, and obviously good business models and a solid vision that you clearly have are likely to be attractive to investors. So I wish you luck with that. When you talk about this sort of hub and spoke type logistics model, is that something that you would do yourself? Or might you work with a partner, or is it a part of your business that you might outsource? How do you see that going forward? Is it, would you remain entirely vertically integrated, or would you look to work with partners?
Yeah, we would like to work with partnerships, schemes and stuff like other companies. With our businesses, every item is unique. So say we might get a branded Origin or window in, for example, and a customer comes to us and they want 4 of those, then obviously we can hook up with the company and they can order 3 brand new ones, but then they could order the second-hand one from us. So at least it saves something going to landfill. So yeah, we would like to have a partnership scheme like that.
Yeah. And when you report what you do and you talk about what you do you put statistics out there in terms of how much waste has been diverted from landfill related to what you do, and maybe what the carbon emission savings are related to, buying something that's, well, not even second-hand in many cases, is it? They're just mismeasured products that can go into another building. How strongly do you push the green agenda as a business?
Yeah, we are. We really are trying to push that now. Last month, we rescued over 300 products from ending up in landfill, each with an average saving of 200 kg of CO2, which is the equivalent of 180,000 straws just in one product.
Yeah.
So our products can vary from a small window to a 10-pane set of bifolds. So it can be very, very different.
And when you talked about investment and looking for the first tranche of $1 million and then maybe a further investment from the financial services community, it seemed to be all based on the operational logistics warehousing. So I assume that you have no problem with supply and demand. There seem to be plenty of products out there that you can buy, and you don't seem to have a problem with shifting them. Is that correct? So you kind of, your value chain seems to work quite well.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
It's about having space to store the stuff and having the systems to deal with them efficiently.
Yeah, the struggle that we find is knowing what price. Obviously, we buy these items off the fitters. It's easier for them just to cut them out. But we're actually offering them money to purchase them off them. But the struggle is knowing what price to buy the items for, knowing what price to sell them for as well. So if we buy a set of doors and we list them too high, then we get zero interest in them because they're not listed at the correct price. If we pay too much for an item, obviously that can affect it as well. So a standard height set of 2.1 meter doors, we might give one price. If we buy a 2.6 meter set of doors, they're actually worth half the price because no one's got a building that high and wants them. So it's getting all these prices right for what we buy and sell them for is really, really important. And that's been one of the struggles. If we can work out the right amount, if we can work it out exactly, we'll get stuff in quicker, we'll shift it out quicker, and that means we could be able to rescue more stock. And this is something that we're looking into now.
And I guess this is quite a flexible model, isn't it, in terms of pricing? Because I suppose the external market for new products is likely to drive the price of your products to an extent, because obviously the customer needs to see a saving.
Yeah.
And I guess when you're talking about, it's easier for builders to cut doors out and chuck them in a skip. So you need to pay them some money that compensates them, I guess, for the extra effort, plus provides a bit of extra profit for them. And certainly, I find personally trying to get a builder in a domestic property to do anything at all is really challenging because there's a lot of demand on their time. So I suppose the economics of the day must dictate a lot of what you buy and sell for. It's not a fixed model, is it? As you say, every product is unique.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, every item is unique. We were buying doors from 100 years ago, old Crittall antique doors, sometimes even older than that. So putting a price on something like that is very difficult. It's just about having that pricing model right is important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks very much for that. I mean, I'm sure our audience will find your story inspirational. Joe, do you mind if I've got a question off piste, and I don't know whether you want to talk about it or not.
Yeah, sure.
Then that's fine. You mentioned at the beginning of this discussion that you're dyslexic. How has that affected you? Your dyslexia. What have been the advantages and disadvantages of that condition?
Yeah, me and Levi are both dyslexic,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've got ADHD as well, I've realised. But yeah, I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 7 years old. I kind of realised I was always different from other people. I thought differently. It wasn't always a bad, I'd have a different solution to stuff. It wasn't always a bad solution. It was just different. So people kind of thought it was, maybe a bit odd. But I've realised growing up, I think it's the only reason why I'm in this position now. I see things differently. I've read up a lot about what Richard Branson said in his online and stuff, and I can relate so much to everything. Everything he says is exactly how I would say it in my head. But yeah, I think it's the sole reason why I've built this business up to where it is at the moment. I've seen something, and I've seen the bigger picture of it. And so I think it's.
How about you, Levi?
Yeah, I'm more the fact is I've tried to avoid it in my eyes. I'm completely opposite, really. I don't know. I've always just didn't want. Obviously, it drives me slightly to do better in things that I'm trying to achieve. But I try and just hide that part of me away and just sort of get on with it because I know I had a lot of support. Going back to schools and stuff like that. Giving you extra time for things, and I just tried I tried just to fit in with everyone else, really. So yeah, I'm completely different with that.
Yeah, well, as they say, if you've met one person with dyslexia, you've met one person with dyslexia or ADHD or whatever.
Yeah,
it's different for everybody. And I mean, certainly, in my view, I think most successful entrepreneurs in the world are ADHD. And it's a gift to those people that have that sort of spark and that inspiration. And yes, as you say, so Richard Branson is a very good example. And there's plenty of others around the world that that have that condition.
Yeah.
It's not a disability. It's just, as I think you said very clearly, Joe, you're just that bit different.
Yeah, it is a blessing. Yeah, I mean, I was like Levi at the beginning. When I was younger. Kind of obviously embarrassing going for extra lessons and classes and having extra time. So it's back then it was deemed, not ideal. But I've realised that now looking back, the way I think and the way I do things is actually a massive positive effect in business and everything. And I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for dyslexia and ADHD.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, I love the story about how you were, buying and selling things at eBay when you were 12.
Yeah.
That's a very clear sign of a kind of really, really restless mind. So, yeah, thanks very much for that, guys. As I say, it wasn't in the script, but thanks very much for talking openly about that because I kind of think that's something that our audience will be very interested in as well. And of course, there are businesses out there and public bodies that have targets around doing business with, I hate to use the term disabled because I don't think it is necessarily disabled, but disabled people. So, that kind of business ownership model would actually be quite interesting to some customers as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think that just about wraps it up for us. Thanks very much to our audience for bearing with us and listening to Joe and Levi's story. I do hope you find it an inspiration. And as I said to Joe and Levi when we talked about this podcast, A lot of our audience around the world are buyers. They're people who procure things, and in some cases, sustainability professionals and others. And I hope what that's done is just kind of open your mind to, do you know what? Sometimes there are different ways of doing things and different ideas. And if you think about the sort of products that these gentlemen are selling, you're saving waste from landfill, you're saving carbon, you're supporting a small business in its growth that's employing local people, and you're saving a load of money. I've always said that sustainability should not cost you more, but bad procurement will. And looking at products like these and like many others around the world, that maybe smaller businesses are offering, by opening your mind as purchasers, you can actually do your job much better and to be successful. So thank you very much to our audience for listening. This is ISO 2400 Sense and Sustainability. I'm Sean McCarthy. I do hope you enjoyed this episode.
Thank you for listening to our podcast on sense and sustainability. Please listen out for more episodes. For more information, learning resources, tools, and much more on sustainable procurement, go to www.iso2400.org.